Hey darlings, welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for being here. So in today's video I'm going to share with you guys how I made this bodycon dress. It's very gorgeous yet very simple as well, and the good news is that it's very easy to make. So if you want to learn how to make this dress, make sure you watch to the end. So for this project I'm going to be using my basic patterns for this, and this pattern runs from the shoulder line close to the hip line area, and the fabric I'm going to be using is a crepe fabric and is about 2.5 yards of fabric. So guys, as you can see, my fabric is stretchy, especially on one side of it. So because of this, I'm not going to be using a zipper for this bodycon dress. So we are going to start off with cutting out the front piece, and right before you place your basic pattern on your fabric, you have to determine the folding amount of fabric to fold, and to do that you have to measure your hip circumference, divide it by 4, then add seam allowance to it. Then when you fold out, you place your pattern on it, and as you can see, at this hip line area I extended it by 1 inch because I wanted it to come down at 25 inches since it's a dress and not a blouse. So the rest of the length of the pattern is the full length of where you want your dress to be. For mine, I chose it to run from the shoulder down to the ankle area of my body. So now you place your pattern on the folded fabric. The next thing you have to do now is to mark in your measurements appropriately. Now to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is to trace my pattern, my basic pattern, on my fabric, as you can see right there, the armhole area as well, the shoulder areas as well. We'll cut out the neckline later on. Now after marking out your pattern, this is what it should look like. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is to move my fabric and then mark in the measurement for the knee line. Now to mark in your measurement for the knee line, what you simply do is to measure what you have on the hip line area, that is your hip circumference divided by 4, and then whatever you have there, you're going to take it to the knee line, remove about 1.5 inch to it, and then you mark, and this will help to create the pencil effect on your dress. Now I'm going to be marking the same all through to the full length of my dress. So guys, if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please click the subscribe button below, turn on your notification bell so that you don't miss any of our tutorials. And if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, make sure you leave it on the comment section below. Thank you. So now after marking this, the next thing I'm going to do now is to show you what it looks like fully. And this is what my full dress looks like, all the way to the hem area of my dress. As you can see, I've marked out my hemming allowance too, and next I'm going to be marking in my side seam allowance all through the side area of my dress. So you make sure you add your side seams before you cut. And I'll also note that if you want your dress to be really clingy to your body, you can, since you are using a crepe fabric, if you are using a crepe fabric rather, you may want to remove about 1 inch from the side seam of your dress to create that effect. So now after marking in my side seam, this is what it looks like with my seam allowance. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to show you how to mark the neckline area of your dress. Now to mark in the neckline area of my dress, from the center front is 3 inches already, and I'm going to leave it like that. Then for the depth, I'm going to be marking it at 7.5 inches. So you choose where you want yours to be. So next I'm going to make a semi V-neck line shape with these markings I've made here. Also remember that you can always change the neckline measurements and the shape as well to create your own unique look. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark 1/2 inch across that measurement I made, and this will serve as a seam allowance, as I don't want my neckline to be wider than as I've marked before. So I'm marking 1/2 inch in front of it so that when I finally add my facing to my dress, it will come back to the normal measurement I marked before. So now we're done marking out our front piece, and next thing I did was to cut out my fabric. So now I'm going to go over to cutting out the back side. Now you're going to add additional 2 inches while folding out your material for the back piece. And as you can see right here, we have a zipper allowance on our pattern. Even though we're not going to be adding a zipper to our dress, this is going to serve as a slit allowance for this dress. So now I placed my pattern just like the front piece, extended my hip line to 25 inches right here, and the rest is the full length of my dress. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark in my basic pattern onto my fabric and continue with the modification. So guys, if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and if you're enjoying this tutorial so far, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. So far this is what we have, and just like we did for the front part of our dress, we are going to measure whatever you have on your hip area. You're going to remove 1.5 inch to that and mark on the knee line area of your dress and all the way to the full length of your dress. So you're going to connect it all the way from the full length of your dress all the way to the hip line area, and next you're going to be adding your side seam allowance as well all the way to the bust line of your dress. Now onto the neckline area, measuring from the center back, I still have 3 inches just as I have at the back side. Then you place your tape right there at the shoulder line area. I mark down 7 inches for my neckline measurement. Okay, so you choose where you want yours to be. It could be less or more, and the shape could be different. This is just a demo of how I did mine. So you can always add a unique touch to yours. So now that we've marked this, the next thing I'm going to do is equally take 1/2 inch off the measurement so that when I sew my facing, everything will align to the original measurement of the neckline area. Next, you go ahead and cut out your fabric, and this is what it should look like. And then I've also marked in my dart, transferred my dart from my pattern to my fabric on both sides of the back piece. Then you are going to slash this center part of your back side open like this all the way to the full length of your dress. So now we're going to go ahead with cutting out the sleeve. So guys, you can add any kind of sleeve to your dress, but if you want to add the kind of sleeve I added to mine, I'll put the link of the detailed tutorial in the description box below so that you check it out later. Thank you. So now I'm going to cut out the facing for the neckline of my dress, and to do that, the measurement you have to consider for this is that the length of the facing should be at least 2 inches or 3 more than that of the neckline area, the opened area, and equally the width as well. It could be more than the width by 1 inch, 2 inches, and nothing less. So now I'm going to slide this, and I'm cutting on fold as well. Slide this under my fabric like this. I'm going to make sure it aligns well before cutting. So far so good. You can see that making this dress was quite easy. It's a simple dress to make. It's very basic, and I hope you guys are enjoying the procedures. Make sure also that you mark out your dart from your pattern onto your fabric so that it will be easy while sewing. And then the next thing you're going to do is to trace the neckline area on your facing fabric, and then you're going to cut it out and set it aside. So you cut it out. Make sure you don't cut into your neckline. You do this gently. You can equally hold everything with a pin before cutting to make things easier for you. So now after cutting this, you should have something like this. And then what I did next was to go ahead and reshape the facing area to give it a curve at this area, and this is very optional. So now I'm going to go over to cutting the back facing as well. So now you're going to take the same process as we did for the front side to cut out the facing for the neckline of the back side of your dress. And after doing that, the next thing we are going to go over is sewing your dress. Now to sew my dress, the first thing I did was to sew the facing of the neckline area, and this is the right side of my fabric. So what I did was to place my facing fabric onto my dress and align it properly to the neckline area. If you want, you can pin this up before sewing, and I'm going to stitch with 1/2 inch all around the neckline area like this. And then the next thing I did was to sew my dart on both sides of the front piece. So now after sewing the facing for the neckline area, the next thing I did was to notch around the neckline area and then slash off all the excess fabric right here, so that when I turn over to the right side of my fabric, everything will be relaxed. So now I turn the facing to the wrong side of my fabric, and this is what the right side of my dress looks like. Next, I'm going to be top stitching all around the neckline area. So after doing that, this is what I have. And for the back side, I'm going to stitch all the way from this point to this point, and this area is about 6 inches, measuring from my knee line measurement. So you determine where you want your sleeve to start and stop. Then I'm going to sew my dart area. Now the next thing I'm going to do now for the back piece is to sew my facing just as I did for the front piece. And to sew the facing for the back side, as you can see, I've sewn on my darts as well. I'm going to be placing it right side to each other, just as I did for the front piece. I'm going to align it properly and then the stitch all round, and then don't forget to notch after sewing. And then the next thing I also did was to cut out the excesses around the neckline area to keep the neckline relaxed, so that when I flip the facing to the wrong side of the dress, I'll give it a top stitch and it will be relaxed like this. Then to finish up the slit area of the dress, this is the wrong side of the back dress, I opened up the slit area, and then I'm going to stitch 1/2 inch all the way to 1/2 inch above where the slit actually started, and then sew 1/2 inch all the way to the bottom part. And then after doing that, you should have something like this. So now we are done with the slit and the facing. The next thing we are going to do now is to put both the front and back side of our dress together. Next, we are going to be joining it from the side seam areas using the seam allowance we allotted for it. We sew all the way from the bust line to the hem line, then hem the bottom part of our dress. Then next, I'm going to be joining it from the shoulder and then add my sleeves, and my dress is ready. So guys, don't forget to check out the full tutorial on how to create this sleeve. Right here is a puff sleeve with a slit to the midpoint of the sleeve and with an elastic band at the cuff line area. It's a very gorgeous sleeve. It adds a lot of touch to your simple dress. So I'll put the link to this video in the description box below so that you check it out later. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please kindly subscribe. Turn on your notification bell so that you don't miss any of our tutorials. If you have any suggestions or questions, you can leave it down on the comment section below. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. See you guys in my next. Bye.